about that team and that championship game in Atlanta.
You know, I've had a chance to reflect on it a little bit here as we look forward to it. And the guys were calling in, and you know, we'd start laughing about things and that happened and everything. But really, how close that team was, how hard they worked. You know, I look back and you know, my first hire here once I started was John Stuckey, and how I mean, he just killed them, and those guys responded. You know, how far some of them came. They were good players recruited, but they really improved and developed over a period of time, and just how close they were. And, you know, having this many guys back is an example of that, with about 90 guys coming, I think, their spouses. So it'll be fun evening.
Coach, is it fair to say that team maybe set the stage for what was going to happen the following year?
Oh, I don't think there's any question that they did. I mean, really, even the year before, you know, it all started, they were very close. And in some ways, as I look back, they're probably, you know, more talented than the next team. It just, you know, the breaks didn't happen exactly like you'd like for them to. So, yeah, pretty much they laid the foundation for anything that was accomplished during that time. This group of kids, I'm not sure what exactly their record was, but over that period of time, we're like 45-5, so it's pretty special.
In a weekend like this, when, like you mentioned, when everybody gets back together, it's pretty special.
It is, you know, just to see them, and of course we've all aged and we all have new experiences, and you know, but and having been around here, I've seen a lot of them. Some, you know, some of them come by the ball games and at the box and everything, but there's a lot of those guys I haven't seen. You know, I kind of kept up with them one way or another, and I look forward to seeing their wives and tomorrow seeing their children and those kinds of things, which is, you know, what family's about. We were very much a family.
Coach, did you have any idea at that time? I think it was, what, the first of 5 SEC championship game appearances for you. Did you have any idea that you'd play in that many? Was the ball rolling that much, or were you just too much in the moment? To really...
I think you're just too much in the moment. You know, you're worried about the next game or the next prospect, the next recruiting trip. You know, I had no way to know that, you know, that we would accomplish, you know, that much, but if we had continued to recruit that way, if we continued to recruit that way and coach that way, and I had incredible coaches around me, you know, John Chavis and David Cutcliffe and Randy Sanders and Dan Brooks and Steve Caldwell and others. I mean, those were salt of the earth people and great football coaches. So we were very blessed, there wasn't a lot of fall off year to year. So that group started that, and we kind of tried to stay with it.
Did you ever play the what-if game as far as college football playoff? Your thoughts on how many of those Tennessee teams you would have had?
Yeah, I mean, I look back, and if we had had the playoff system that we have now, back then, I don't think there's any question that the 95, 97, 90, not that I've thought about it, but 95, 97, 99, and 01 teams all had a chance to be in that Final Four. Obviously, the 98 team would have been undefeated. So, yeah, but you know, that's wasn't our era. It's a different time. I do still think that the offense and those defenses are still very relative. It still gets back to blocking and tackling, those kind of things. When you learn, just, you know, it's kind of how you line up to do it.
How was that 97 team able to kind of respond after there was so much? Bill talks about that Florida game, and then after that,
yeah,
they were able to bounce back and get the conference.
Yeah, real disappointment, but they stayed the course, had 9 wins in a row, and Florida didn't, you know, and so we got a chance to go and play for it and beat a really good Auburn team, and you think of this day and age, you know, holding somebody to minus 15 yards rushing in a game. You know, we were able to do that against Auburn and, you know, and get the win.
And that game itself, Coach, was something else, the championship game.
Oh, it really was. We helped them every way we could. It seemed like, you know, from time to time. But boy, it's 2 good teams going at each other, and you know, it put us in a chance at the Orange Bowl to, you know, which we didn't win. But you know, who knows? I think Nebraska ended up splitting that thing, you know, with somebody. You know, if we'd have won it, then maybe we're in that mix.
Phillip, you played a good number of freshmen up before that year, but I don't know that you've ever had the impact of freshmen the way you had in '97 with Cozy and Dion and Jamal and Fred and on and on. Did you know, when did you know in that August of that year that class was going to be able to immediately help that particular team the way that they did?
Well, I mean, I'm sure sometime during two-a-days we realized it, and if there's one thing I was pretty good at was recognizing talent and getting it on the field. Cozy came in and wanted to play a defense, you know, and he's one of the guys that he could have probably been a pretty good defensive tackle, but he's going to be a great offensive lineman. He's going to make a difference. So we made the move. Deion moved up, I mean, really, really fast in the system. Fred found a way to play because he was so darn tough, you know, and fast, and the other guys, you know. So we tried to letter, if we could, every year, as many guys as we could, and we'll redshirt them later, you know, once we have an injury or whatever. It paid off great for Travis Stevens, for example, a redshirt as a junior. Josh Tucker redshirted as a junior, I think, and we were going to play guys that were capable of playing and build our depth as much as we could for the long haul of the season.
What does it say about the leadership of the team that year to embrace those guys? I mean, Jamal became a star, you know, 5 games into the season, and those freshmen were so ballyhooed, they were so talked about, but for that closeness to that team, when you have an influx of like that, what does it say about the leadership of that team?
That's what I said first, is they were so close. I mean, Jamal, I can remember like it was yesterday, the first time we had a 9-on-8 full-speed drill. You know, he's handed the ball, and he goes zip, zip, zip up in there and runs into some upperclassman and runs over him and, you know, runs on into the end zone. And all we got to do is teach him the plays, you know, and get him ready. But there was never any jealousy or selfishness with the guys that were playing in front of him at the time, because it was real obvious that he was going to be the guy. And I guess you're talking about the Georgia game that he kind of broke out, you know, just had a tremendous football game. But they were close. They're still close. You know, there's always a catalyst in the group. You know, Fred White's a catalyst. He's got tons of personality. Al is a guy that they all respond to really well if they want something. It's great to have them coming back. As I said, we got about 90 guys coming back along with their spouses. It'll be a fun time.
How shocked were you, and I guess reflecting, it's 20 years later, but it still gets talked about. Peyton Manning had an unbelievable season. How shocked were you he didn't get the Heisman, and where was that at in the whole season? That talk was going on as the season was going on.
Well, there's just a lot of dynamics in the play. I don't know all the reasons why he didn't. You know, obviously from a very biased standpoint, everybody around us, I guess, thinks that he should have won it. He certainly had the numbers. He had a fabulous, you know, end of the season. I threw for, 5 touchdowns against Kentucky and, a ton of yards. I don't remember exactly what the yards were right there at the end of the season. So whatever reasons it didn't happen, it didn't happen, and none of them are legitimate enough to convince me. You know, he should have won it, and not take anything away from Woodson whatsoever. And I don't want any of this. This weekend is not about the Heisman or Peyton or anything. It's about the '97 team. So let's celebrate that. You're about to get my dander up there. We'll go on. You know.
Phillip, the halftime, the alleged stories of the halftime in that championship game about kind of the leadership taking over in the locker room because you hadn't played well. I don't know how much you want to get into that, but can you reference that at all? The speeches, Al Wilson's speech and Leonard Little's speech at the half when you guys, and then to follow up with that, looking back on it, how hard is that SEC championship game, maybe to prepare for, particularly when you're going through it your first couple of times? How challenging is that game, experiencing it for the first time with the pressure that's on it? In terms of winning, it's a playoff game for a championship.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it became. That when we went to divisional play, it very early, became I think I said a semifinal kind of game, to get to the national championship game. I don't know which question you want me to answer first.
I guess the locker room.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have great leadership, and Al Wilson is a guy that, whether it be on the sideline or in the locker room or back at the dorm or at the apartments, that if things aren't going as the team as he would expect the team to be going, he's going to speak his mind. In that very game, he comes to the sideline, and Coach Brooks liked to rotate his linemen, and I like for him to rotate the linemen It was a very, very crucial situation that came up. And he came close enough to the sideline that I could hear what he said. And Sean Ellis was standing behind Brooks. And he's, "Cat, get your rear end back," in a little more colorful language, And of course, Sean goes, and not that Coach Brooks wanted him to go. He just goes, and we make the substitute and get a stop. But that's the way Al Wilson was, and he was a tremendous leader then, and all the way into the next year.
How hard is that game?
How hard is the game?
Yeah, does that feel different?
You're playing against a good team, obviously, or they wouldn't be there. It's the best setting I've ever been, or was. That old dome, it was just incredible because of the way it was set up and everything. I love playing it. I'd like to win one or two or three more of them. But, it wasn't any harder than any other game. It's just big game. We were used to big games back then.
What do you think made you special from a recruiting standpoint? Because you're talking about a significant amount of talent on that '97 team. What helped you
I'd say
finish?
it's our staff. And, we had a great staff. We had a great place to recruit to. We believed in what we were selling, and we knew what we were selling. And, you find the person that makes a decision. You find out what's important to them. It's not really what's important to you. You can talk to them all day about that, but what's important to them. And, it gets back to, playing time and opportunity. And are you going to take care of my child? And is he going to do those things? And we were good at that. We were good at getting the visit. If we got them to campus, and that was another issue. We had to make big decisions on who came to campus because we only had 57 visits, and we probably could have brought in 157. But we bring them in, and once we got them to campus, our kids sold it. From that point on, they sold our weight room development. They sold how we play. A lot of people. I always felt like we had three tailbacks. When we went into most seasons. It wasn't unusual. Get 40 snaps, you get 20, and you're going to get 10 as a young guy, and let's see how things go.
Do you like this early signing period? Is this something that would have benefited you back in your era? And has the formula stayed the same for Tennessee?
I really hadn't looked at the early signing period. I don't know that I would have liked it because, to be honest with you, I would like to have just been focused on our team and our players, And I'm an advocate, and where it was before, we've talked about this before. I almost wish it had gotten to the place where the coaches coach, and like pro football, you have scouts that scout, and they go and do the recruiting, and you kind of sign off on them or not as the coaches, But you get them to campus and then you leave them. That's not healthy, all the time. Now there's lots of support groups around and things like that, but that's still not who they came here for, right? It's a whole lot better for me to walk in the weight room and grab one of them if I hadn't been to English class than it is for some, tutor or somebody doing it. So.
And how did you mix? Tennessee was known for recruiting nationally. You went from coast to coast. How did you balance that out with the in-state kids? And did you have kind of a number in mind of how many in-state kids you wanted versus the national kids?
No, we would have taken as many SEC-type players in the SEC as we could possibly get. I mean, the guys that are in the state of Tennessee that could play in our conference. We, 5, 6 guys at the time. I think it's much better than that now, and there'd be 4 that you knew could and 2 that maybe could, but, if it was 10, it was great. But we did it a lot more on who can play the positions that we need, and we'd go through what our needs were. And then, wherever they were, we felt like we had a chance to recruit them.
How'd you meld them, though? How did you make them all Tennessee Vols when they're coming from all over the country? What was the bonding point? How did you get these teams to have chemistry?
I just think how we treated them. I mean, we were adults, with them. We held them accountable. I mean, we ended up their parent away from home. There was a respect that was established, a level of effort, that was always expected. And we didn't give it into whatever their music might have been. That was them. That was our age group. We want to act like the adult in the room and make sure that they're responding to how we wanted to do. And as we look forward, that's what we need. A great coach. We need a great leader. You know, we need a great example, you know, for our young people. And that's how you do it here. I know it's how you do it. Here's probably how you do it and have success at most places.
One more for Coach Fulmer.
Thank you. Yeah.
I know you want to talk primarily about the team. What will it mean to you a few weeks from now to see Dayton get inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame?
It's going to be exciting. Going to be about really great, you know, having been up there and had that experience and you know, to honor a guy that has represented our school so wonderfully, school and our state, and, you know, really all of college football and now professional football. And I mean, it'll be great. And it just knowing how he did it too. It didn't come easy. Everybody sometimes thinks, well, gosh, he was born great. He worked his rear off, you know, to get to where he is, and he was a leader. And it's going to be really, really special to share that moment with him and his family.
Thank you, Coach.